I did a video at the beginning of the year when we were in the midst of a lot of changes surrounding short-term rentals in the Valley. Now that we're at the end of the year, we've had a lot more changes, so I just kind of wanted to do an update and let you guys know where different subdivisions have landed on the issue. The most changes by far have been in the town of Crested Butte, so I'm going to kind of cruise through the other subdivisions and then get to the town of Crested Butte at the end of the video. If all you're interested in is the town of Crested Butte, feel free to skip ahead. I feel like it's important to remind everyone that these discussions came about because we are having a workforce housing crisis. A lot of properties have been turned into short-term rentals over the last couple years, which has taken away from our long-term rentals and housing for locals. Implementing short-term rental regulations was a way for our municipalities to try and help with our workforce housing crisis. All right, so let's start with Buckhorn and CV South. At the beginning of the year, both of these subdivisions were talking about limiting STRs. However, both areas ultimately decided to allow STRs for now. Both subdivisions have some rules outlining different policies, mostly around enforcing violations just to make sure everyone's respecting their neighbors. But for the purposes of this video, just know that short-term rentals are allowed, and right now there's no cap on the number of nights that you can rent your property. Two other areas where you can still short-term rent are Skyland and Meridian Lake. I should note that Skyland does have a few HOAs within that neighborhood that don't allow STRs. In Mount CB, nothing has really changed since my last video. Still, anyone can get a license. You just have to fill out your application, pay your fees, and pass a safety inspection. Now moving down Valley, the city of Gunnison has been talking about severely limiting short-term rentals. While they don't have a ton of rentals right now, they've seen what's happened in Crested Butte and they just want to get ahead of the game. As of now, they haven't passed anything. Just know that if you're considering buying property in the city of Gunnison, they could implement something in the future. Okay, everyone, take a second, buckle up, shake it out, because this is the meat of the video, the town of Crested Butte. Okay, here we go. All right. Since 2017, the town of Crested Butte has had the strictest rules surrounding short-term rentals. That's still the case, but they just passed a new ordinance which officially replaces the old ordinance and ends the short-term rental moratorium that's been in place since last year. Before I get into the nitty-gritty, just know that if you currently have an unlimited vacation rental license, you're grandfathered in until you give up that license or until the property sells. Okay, so the two basic licenses remain the same. You can either get a primary residence license or an unlimited license. Town is keeping the zones the same, so in zones where you couldn't get an unlimited license based on the 2017 ordinance, you still can't get one. Instead of capping the total amount of unlimited licenses at 30% of all houses in the unlimited zones, now it's going to be capped at 2 houses per block face in those zones. So if you have 2 STRs on your block face already, you can't get an unlimited license until one of those properties gives up theirs. With this rule, town is just trying to spread out the concentration of STRs to reduce nuisances in any given neighborhood. Now, town used to review applications for licenses at any time throughout the year. That's still the case for primary residence licenses. However, unlimited licenses are going to have an application period at the end of the year. So even if your neighbor's house sells at the beginning of the year, you're going to have to wait until the end of the year to apply for a license. And if more people apply for licenses than are available, it's basically a lottery system. Also, going forward, individuals will only be allowed to have 1 unlimited license. Town is basically trying to keep investors from buying up a bunch of properties to use as vacation rentals. If you have an unlimited license, you're now required to rent your property at least 30 days a year. Town wants to make sure that people who are holding these unlimited licenses are actually using them. On the flip side, if you have a primary residence license, there's no minimum amount of days that you have to rent your property, but now you can rent your property up to 90 days a year. It used to be 60 under the old ordinance. There are a couple other rules regarding enforcement and violations and things like that, but I think that's probably enough information for one video. If you guys have questions or if you want to chat further, if you want to know what this means for you as a buyer or a seller, you guys know I'm here for you.